or less. So get everything adjusted. Get my glasses cleaned off. Get my get myself comfortable. Oh God. Ugh. It's hard being bedbound to move your whole body when you only have the upper part to control. So, there's a whole lot going on in the world today. Very little of it any good. So, this is good hand lotion, but man, it burns like a son of a gun if it gets in your eyes. You know, I always thought, and some got into my eyes the other day, and I was like, ah. So, I had a friend who was in Vietnam, and he went to throw a phosphorus grenade, and somebody shot him in the hand before he could throw the grenade, and it took the side of his face off and his ear and one of his eyes. When he came back from Vietnam, he was sitting at a traffic light. He looked so scary it caused a car wreck. So I'm using the tripod that Dibble Craftian sent me. Thanks, Dibble. So, whole bunch of news. I got like half hour to hang out. And there's all sorts of alien reports now. And I think this one sky camera is just mosquitoes or something that are flying in front of the camera. That's what it looks like. It looks like mosquitoes.
Who spent his career investigating UFOs.
So 10-foot tall aliens in the backyard. And the cops took it seriously. So we're being set up. We're being set up for the rapture. And when it happens, they want everybody to think that aliens took everybody. So in New York, they had a great big commercial for Diablo. Diablo means devil. And they had a great big billboard for Diablo. And God is not mocked. They had a whole bunch of bees descend on the city. And people were running around with bees, trying to swat them away and keep from getting stung. So Mustang is coming out with the new retro Mustang that looks like it's from, and of course the new cars, Dodge is giving up the Hemis and all, and they're totally going to be battery operated, which is a shame. And cars are so expensive now, to pay a $700 car note plus your insurance. I don't see how anybody affords that. My first car note was uh, $66, and my first house note was 122. So, and that was for a 4-bedroom house in Delaware, 15 minutes from the beach. Really nice, house. Is trying to pass laws that will shut down the junkyards because they don't want people resurrecting these old cars. So they're making it so the junkyards have to close down, and they'll scrap out all the old cars and crush them all up and everything to keep people from riding around in the old cars. If I were buying a car now, I'd buy myself like a 71 Chrysler Newport, which was last year before the computer. Very easy to tune up and keep. And there'd be no reason for anybody to bother the car. And it would be essentially EMP proof, because all it has is a little condenser in the distributor that fires the plugs. Very simple. My first car was a 62 Dodge Dart. Ugliest car I've ever seen. Huge car, like a tank. And it had a little teeny 6-cylinder. And it came with a cigarette lighter and the heater. Those were the only options. Nothing else. Nothing else. So they're going to be getting rid of meat soon, and they want everybody to eat grubs and crickets, and essentially eating bugs, according to the Bible, is an abomination. Is what God calls eating bugs. And the problem with the crickets is the crickets have chitin in the crickets. And birds can eat crickets because birds can digest chitin. Humans cannot. And it causes all sorts of problems. They've even implicated it with spinal cancer. And they're giving the ground up crickets to children in Australia in the form of crackers. They're making the bug meal into cricket flour, and it's not flour at all, it's meal, just like a mealworm. And they showed the school, and all of the children, one little boy, and the picture really looked like they were pressuring the little boy, making him odd, carry virus and fungus and parasites. They carry a very nasty little worm that actually gets into the cricket and makes the cricket go drown itself. And then the worm squirms out of the cricket back into the water, and the cycle repeats itself all over again. So here it says Conor McGregor punches out the Miami Heat mascot who had to go to the emergency room. So just weird news about aliens and all of this other stuff. I go to Canadian Prepper for news about the WAR, and I go to Louis Santiago's channel, which is the Grand Supreme News channel. It's got something, it's called rhoticism. I used to think that went back to childhood deafness, but I think it's called rhoticism. And it's like Barbara Waters. They used to call her Barbara Wawa. It's updated news. So if you go to his channel, please be polite, because he's a good guy. And I'm sure people have teased him. I'm sure he's aware of it. So they're looking into that I-95 overpass that collapsed after the truck rammed into the pillar. So a huge humpback whale surfaced and swallowed 2 kayakers. That's awful, to be swimming around and something gobbles you up, especially if it's a shark, because a shark has a row of teeth that holds their victim while the other teeth strip the meat off the bone. So shark attacks are very, very nasty. Indian researchers' breakthrough technique could help us find alien life. All of this about aliens all of a sudden. And the air polluted skies. It says orange skies are the future. And the Bible says that too, is that the Bible says a third of the earth is going to burn. So it said that God destroyed the earth the first time by flood, the next time by fire. And this article here is talking about if people mark your mailbox. People are wondering why they come out and there's a mark on their mailbox, or if there's an X sprayed on the street in front of their house, if that's like a mark for the government to, pay them particular scrutiny. So, biomedical labs bleed horseshoe crabs for vaccines. So, when I lived at the beach, the horseshoe crab, they would lay their eggs and then they would die. And we didn't know any better at the time. So the horseshoe crab would come up to lay its eggs, and we would take the horseshoe crab and throw it back into the water thinking that we were going to help it. And then the horseshoe crabs would come on shore and the seagulls would pick them all apart. And then we would take the empty shells, and we would play Star Trek and Star Wars, like we were Commander Worf with the horseshoe crab shells on our heads. That kind of stuff. So the government has hired 90,000 new IRS agents, and it says the IRS is cracking down on small businesses. They're going to bleed people dry. So a lot of stuff going on. So how are you all doing? that candy that Kelly Osbourne sent me was beautifully wrapped. She sent me a whole bunch of candy bars, Snickers, and Twix, and oh gosh. And it was packed in a little refrigerator with dry ice, a little cooler. And when I got the package, the candy bars were actually still cool. And I put them right in the refrigerator because I like my chocolate to have that snap. And by the way, if you want to bless old PopPop, you know, there's some cupcakes and things like that on my Amazon link that I would love to have. When you're old and alone and bedridden, it's good to have stuff like that to help pass the time. So, in any case, Toby Keith has got cancer, and we got to keep him in our prayers. It says new 621-mile range EV battery charges in 6 minutes. And see, the thing that people don't understand about those lithium-ion batteries, they're very volatile. So if you have a charging station in your home, you need to have a fire suppression system as well. They don't even let those EV cars onto ferry boats because they had the one ferry boat sink after one of the cars caught on fire and set everything on the boat on fire. So it says Mark Zuckerberg's credits Elon Musk with kicking off the new tech trend. I swear Mark Zuckerberg reminds me, there are times when he doesn't even look like he's human. Pope Francis recovering after a hernia surgery. So Paris Hilton and the Kardashians, they do nothing other than look good in front of a camera and everyone fawns over them. Paris Hilton shares a rare new photo of the baby they named Phoenix Hilton. So years ago, my buddy's father worked for Hilton Hotels, and he invited us down to the beach, and my buddy and his girlfriend got a room, and I got a room next to them. And I called over to ask about whether they were going to breakfast or not. And the girlfriend was like, "This is room 108, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. Oh God, 8." And so I was like, "Well, I guess I'll have to call back later, if you know what I mean." They were busy. So we go to breakfast, and they had a veranda where you could eat your breakfast outside and look out onto the beach. And we got these very deluxe breakfasts with, fruit cocktail and juice and coffee and bagels and cream cheese and omelets and all sorts of stuff, delivered in courses. So, in any case, the tables were all full, and this very obnoxious, grotesque, hairy old man came and he stood right next to my table with his belly button literally 6 inches from my nose. And I said, "Can I help you?" He said, "I'm standing here waiting for the table." I said, "Well, we got a ways to go yet. We haven't had our breakfast portion of the meal and blah, blah." And he said, "Well, it's okay. I'll wait." So when the waitress came back by to ask about refilling our coffee, I told the waitress, I said, "I'll have a fresh coffee and a shirt for this gentleman," because it was very eat my breakfast with this old man's hairy belly button 6 inches from my nose. And the guy wasn't giving it up for anything. And he knew he had a ringer. So we on our coffee, and the old man practically sat on top of me as I was getting up from the table. He sat down and pushed aside all of logical battle, made me give up my seat. But some people are like that. They're just obnoxious, and they go through life, bullying other people. But it was all good. Speaking of going by very fast, it's time for me to take my nighttime medicine so I can live for a little bit longer. So I gotta go. I love you all. I care about you. The good Lord